Hello there, my friend, and welcome back to the show. My name is Gavin. Thank you very much for being here. I want to make sure I'm not blowing out your eardrums there. Looks like I came in a little hot there. So glad you're here. Hey, on this channel, if you're new, what we like to do is we talk about true crime cases that are currently in the, I guess, the public attention. But we like to cut past all the sensationalism. We like to cut past the fluff, and we like to get right into the nitty gritty. And man, sometimes it just gets so gritty. It just gets so gritty. And tonight it's a gritty one, guys. So buckle in because this is a tough one. I want to thank Autumn for bringing it to my attention and Kelsey, who worked so hard with Autumn on getting a timeline together and getting documents and stories all together that I can share with you tonight. So thanks again to Autumn and Kelsey for that. Thank you both. I was talking with my wife before we came on. In fact, it's one of the reasons I was a little bit late tonight. There are just some things that just baffle me, and they break me a little bit. And I mean, the good news is there are just so many good people in the world, and I see it every day. But then there are days like today where we're looking at this case. This is Rebecca Baptiste. She is 10 years old. She was 10 years old. She is forever 10 years old because her life was cut short. She was murdered on the 27th of July. So it's been a little bit over a month. This happened in it happened in Apache County, Arizona, which is a rural part of Arizona. I really should have gotten some map time ready to channel our inner Gisela. Maybe I still will. I think I still have time. Let me see what I can do here real quick. Yeah, let me bring this up. Apache County, AZ. Okay. Oh, yeah, I see where it is. Let's take a look-see here. This little dotted line area is Apache County. Now you'll notice the Phoenix area down here, which is a pretty darn big metropolis. The family, Richard Baptiste, his girlfriend Anicia Woods, and Rebecca and her siblings lived in the Phoenix area, and then abruptly moved out to rural northeastern Arizona, somewhere in the county here. I'm actually not sure where. I really didn't prepare that very well. I'm a little broken by this case, man. This little girl, okay? Oh, let me just say, I condensed it a little bit because I only have so many characters in the description, but the timeline in the description is a condensed version of what Kelsey prepared for us. So thank you, Kelsey, for that. I wanted to give Kelsey a shout out on that. But anyway, this is where we're talking. Okay. And for those of you who don't know where Arizona is, you're outside of the United States. Arizona is in the southwest of the United States. It borders Mexico, though where we're talking about, it's not anywhere near the border of Mexico. It's several hours from there. But yeah, that's where we're talking. Okay, Apache County, Arizona. Okay. I think the first thing that I should do is just give you a quick rundown on what happened. Actually, no. Let's start with a 911 call. I got this. I think it's probably abbreviated a little bit by Court TV. This was on Vinnie Politan's show. Again, shout out to Autumn for helping me with this. But listen to this 911 call. That's where we're going to start. And then I'm going to check your comments over Let's see if we can bring that way. There we go. I'm going to check your comments while we're listening. Okay, here we go.
911, what's the location of your emergency?
Hey, Rose,
What's the location of your emergency?
we're on I-80 headed towards Holbrook.
I have you on the 180 about milepost 313.
Yeah.
Okay, is your emergency on the highway?
It's my daughter. She's with us. We live out in the desert, and we're hauling ass to Holbrook to the EMS station.
You're trying to get her to the EMS?
Yes.
Okay, how old is your daughter?
10.
She's 10, and what's going on with her?
She ran away for the third time in a week in the desert, and when the neighbor found her in the wash, she was unresponsive completely. And by the time she got back to the house, she was barely breathing, so I'm breathing for her now.
Okay, let's just pause here for a second. I want you to pay close attention to her tone. She is, I think she refers to her as her daughter, her stepdaughter, whatever, right? And she's saying, she ran away and a neighbor found her and now I'm breathing for her. Well, there's no urgency in this at all. All right, we'll continue.
She's unresponsive, unconscious, unable to breathe for herself.
Okay, so she's still unconscious, unresponsive?
Yes.
Is she breathing?
I'm breathing for her.
What do you mean?
I am putting my mouth around hers and breathing the air down
Her breath?
Yes.
What kind of vehicle are you driving, ma'am?
This is a Ford Focus. Gray. Two-door.
Okay, have you administered any CPR or just the rescue breaths?
Just rescue breath.
Okay, 1 second for me while I get EMS paged out to you. I need you to pull over so that I can page him out to you and we can start CPR.
Would it be easier if it's going to be faster if we just keep going because we're almost to Holbrook.
I understand that. I need you to pull over so I can have EMS meet you.
And I think that is the end of the clip that we have there. I don't know what she does for work. That's what a great question, Jojo. It does sound, she's like, yeah, she is speaking medical speak, right? Hey, real quick, here's a comment. And I'm sorry, Tio Toys, to call you out on this, but I called Gisela and I asked her to teach me how she pronounces her name. She does not pronounce it Gisela. She pronounces it Gisela. She's a friend of mine. I checked it out, but I appreciate you trying to keep me honest there. I really do. Okay. So that's the 911 call. This reminds me a little, actually, it doesn't. I was going to say, it kind of reminds me of Sam Goldberg's, but no, Sam was trying to act, in my opinion, as if he was concerned. Anicia doesn't even sound concerned at all, not in the slightest. So we just heard a 911 call. 10-year-old little girl said she's a runaway. Neighbor found her, and oh my goodness gracious me, she's not breathing. So I am breathing for her. She's unresponsive. We're taking her to the nearest place, blah, blah, blah. Right? Okay. So my like BS meter is going through the roof. You know, I should have a little on my screen here. I should have a little BS meter because it is going crazy right now. Well, it turns out police get there and things aren't what it seems or what they seem. Things aren't what they seem. This girl has been so I'm going to try not to use the A word because of YouTube, right? It's not because I'm trying to be, I guess sensitive to using hard language, but YouTube doesn't like it when we use these words. But she has been so maltreated that they even note that toenails have been removed. Okay? Now, she is taken to the hospital. 3 days later, she dies. Her parents, well, her dad is arrested, and so is Ms. Woods, his girlfriend, and they are charged with the murder of this precious little girl. You know what always gets me with this? It just always strikes me. This struck me with the Madeline Soto case, too. Look how she was able to put on a happy face. And look at what a beautiful little girl she is. Oh my goodness, I have a 10-year-old right now. This could be one of her classmates. Just the cutest little thing who is able to put on a smile, though she is living a torturous life at home. Okay, so she dies, and more details start to come out. I think where we want to go next is this report right here from ABC 15 in Phoenix. Here we go.
First, new details in a disturbing case out of Apache County. A 10-year-old girl murdered. Her father, one of two people arrested in connection to her death. He and his girlfriend appearing in court this morning.
ABC 15's Ashley Holden listened in and heard from those who knew this little girl, calling her death preventable. Ashley, some of these details are just tough to hear.
And that includes her former school administrators. There are the ones that are calling 10-year-old Rebecca Baptiste's death preventable. We want to warn you, some of these details in the story may be tough to hear.
Yeah.
Over a long period of time, this child was subjected to some horrendous conditions.
In court, Apache County prosecutors describing the injuries of 10-year-old Rebecca Baptiste.
I have marked, if for the court's consideration, exhibits 2, 3, and 4, which are excerpts from some of the hospital records regarding Rebecca, the victim who died, indicating both acute, so some very recent significant injuries that she sustained, subdural hematomas, bruising up and down her entire body, missing toenails, and then also long-term
Subdural hematomas, right? These are bruises.
care issues.
While we still don't know her cause of death, a newly obtained police report says on July 27th it was Rebecca's dad, Richard Baptiste, and his girlfriend, Anicia Woods, who called 911, saying Rebecca was not breathing, telling police she had run away and had been found by a neighbor. But both Richard and Woods were arrested. The little girl was taken to Phoenix Children's, where she died 3 days later.
An actual medical diagnosis said that the above findings are highly concerning for child physical abuse, child sexual abuse, and torture.
Prosecutors allege 2 other children in the home also had injuries. A new complaint says Rebecca's dad and Woods are now charged with first-degree murder.
Guys, I'm very sorry for the echoing. I just noticed that it was echoing. Sorry about that.
And child abuse.
Rebecca was an absolutely beautiful human. She was one of our best students.
The Empower College prep community left grieving.
She was a good student. I bet she found haven at school. I bet the moment she got there, she thrived.
ABC 15 was told Rebecca and 2 of her siblings were students there until family says they recently moved out of the valley. Administrators say staff reported suspected abuse or neglect to the Arizona Department of Child Safety 12 times in the last year. In terms of
12 times.
You guys did see, what
12 times in the last year. They reported suspected CA 12 times in the year leading up to her death.
Arizona Department of Child Safety 12 times in the last year. In terms of what you guys did see, what kind of prompted you to report?
On more than one occasion, and more than one of the Baptiste scholars shared that they felt unsafe or that they did not want to return home. They would make allegations and have markings on them that were evident that aligned with the allegations that they made.
Administrators say DCS told them the case had been assigned to an investigator at least 4 times, but now they want answers.
Do you feel like the state let these kids down?
Yeah, absolutely. We believe that the lack of, absolute follow through or investigation to support these kids and keep them safe, both physically, psychologically, mentally, emotionally, was not done.
Richard Baptiste and Anicia Woods were granted a $1 million bond. They are set to be back in court for a preliminary hearing in early September. Back to you.
Ashley, thanks. Our team covered
This report, by the way, was from the 4th of August. Okay, so I'm not sure when their preliminary hearing is, but it's coming up soon.
on this big story continues with ABC 15's senior investigator Melissa Blasius pressing the Department of Child Safety for answers. Melissa?
Faye, there are so many questions tonight about who could have intervened and what more could have been done to prevent the horrible end to Rebecca Baptiste's life. Tonight, the Arizona Department of Child Safety is acknowledging that their workers did know the murdered 10-year-old and her family. We asked specifically about how many times they got complaints of abuse involving this little girl and the outcome of those investigations, but DCS is not yet giving us details of the extent of its involvement. However, DCS is...
This comment to me is maybe the most infuriating thing coming out of DCS. It sounds like jargon that was written in a boardroom. It is offensive. This kind of commentary is offensive, man.
Promising a thorough review, issuing a statement saying the goal is to identify and understand any systemic barriers that may have influenced the outcome and to implement data-driven systemic changes to prevent such tragedies in the future. Despite our expertise in child safety, DCS says we cannot predict the future and must operate within the boundaries of our legal authority.
Okay, this is one of those statements where both things probably are true, right? Yeah, they definitely need to work within the bounds of their legal authority. And yeah, they can't predict the future. Who can? But that is no excuse for the fact that more than 12 times, in fact, it's 13 times, this family was reported to DCS and nothing was done. It took the murder of this beautiful little girl probably to protect her siblings. And that's the truth of it.
Also saying the department is collaborating with law enforcement on a joint investigation to ensure the people responsible for this heinous act are brought to justice.
Shut up. You are not. That you must comply legally for subpoenas and warrants and stuff like that. You're not working with law enforcement. Law enforcement is doing this.
Protection agencies also saying, tragically, those who intend to harm children can sometimes evade even the most robust systems designed to protect them. And as Ashley Holden mentioned in her report just a few minutes ago, this family had been living in Phoenix for years, and then they abruptly moved to rural Apache County within the last few months.
That's funny. She tries to say rural the way my wife says it. Rural. No, it's not rural, it's rural. But anyway, why? Why do you think they abruptly left Phoenix and went out to rural Apache County? Yeah, they were fleeing DCS.
I'm senior investigator Melissa Blasius, ABC 15, Arizona.
Okay. I've got a couple more that I want to share with you guys. We'll watch together. And then I've got some documents that I want to get into. So let's move over to this one right here. Here we go. This is from the 7th of last month.
In the murder of Rebecca Baptiste, the 10-year-old killed her own father and his girlfriend now stand accused, all despite multiple warnings to the Department of Child Safety.
ABC 15's Ashley Holden speaking with those who knew Rebecca, now pushing for justice and accountability.
She ran away today, and when the neighbor found her, she's just been completely unresponsive.
That 911 call on July 27th is how Holbrook police officers found Rebecca Baptiste. Records say she was bruised, appeared malnourished, and was not breathing.
Are you waiting for EMS?
I'm waiting for them because I'm trying to get her breath.
The 10-year-old's dad, Richard Baptiste, and his girlfriend, Anicia Woods, there when officers arrived. Woods heard on 911 calls referring to Rebecca as her daughter, the little girl dying 3 days later.
In the pictures, I see the mugshot, and that doesn't even, I don't know who that man is.
Baptiste and Woods now charged with murder and child
That's actually a
abuse.
pretty good indication. I was going to show you this, guys. This is a good indication of where this beautiful little girl came from. I mean, I'm seeing what I think are track marks. It's just a tough situation.
With murder and child abuse. Rebecca's grandma and mom speaking with us, but asking we don't share their faces.
I thought we had time. I thought we had time. If they didn't want her, they didn't need to keep her. They didn't need to keep them.
In court this week, prosecutors describing extensive injuries on not only Rebecca, but also her two siblings. New court records show the family had moved just weeks prior from the Valley to rural Apache County.
We had quite a few staff members share their concerns and fear that Rebecca specifically would not come back to the school or return to the school alive.
Rebecca and her siblings had been attending Empower College Prep. Administrators originally told us they notified the Arizona Department of Child Safety 12 times.
Look at that.
In the last year. DCS this week pushing back, saying they were contacted by the school 5 times and just once were statutory reporting criteria met.
What were your thoughts when you saw their response?
Initially, it was shock and surprise, but then also not shock and surprise, given how we know the department has unfortunately functioned in the past.
Now administrators are providing specific dates and details of who they say they spoke with, also saying staff notified Phoenix Police through their school resource officer, and their staff was never informed their reports didn't meet the statutory threshold.
We have to use our voice. We have to speak up and say, hey, something needs to change.
Look at her.
School administrators say outside agencies have shared with them that they made at least 20 additional reports to DCS. We've reached out to...
What? Go back. Go back.
They made at least 20 additional reports.
And say, hey, something needs to change.
School administrators say outside agencies have shared with them that they made at least 20 additional reports to DCS.
So outside agencies, another 20 reports to DCS
for an updated response. On this ongoing back and forth, we have not heard back. They have told us this week they will be thoroughly reviewing Rebecca's case. Ashley Holden, ABC 15, Arizona.
Okay, so I know I'm piling on DCS a little bit here. When the person responsible for Rebecca's death is this guy, police say, and this gal, again, police say. They're the ones responsible. However, what is the point of Child Protective Services? What's the point? If the safety of these children had been reported at least 32 times, I mean, what's the point of the department if you can't do anything? What is the point? It is just infuriating. Okay, one more report from ABC 15. And then I'm going to go ahead and move on to the documents that we have here. Here we go. This is from the 16th of August.
We've been following up extensively on the tragic death of 10-year-old Rebecca Baptiste. New video giving us a glimpse into the conversations between police and those accused in her death. Due to the sensitivity of this case, we've decided to only show some portions of the body camera footage showing police and adults.
I just got the kids back and I've been working on getting full custody.
These are the minutes after police met the Baptiste family at a Holbrook intersection.
Why did you just get the kids back, and why are you working on full custody if you can't care for the kids? This is something that I was talking to Kimberly about. If your children have been CA'd for such a protracted period of time, what is it that drives that? Is it that you hate your children? Is it that you just aren't capable of caring for your children? Is it sadism? Like, what is it? And why would you want them if you're just going to treat them like this? I don't get it. Oh.
July 27th, finding Rebecca severely injured. She died just 3 days later. Richard Baptiste, seen here with his girlfriend Anicia Woods, are both charged with
They don't look at this. They do not look worked up at all. He looks like he's trying to appear to be distraught, put his hand up on his forehead and stuff like that. But they are not distraught, in my opinion.
Woods are both charged with murder and child abuse, the two telling police.
She ran away this morning. We went out and tried to find her, and our neighbor found her.
Since Rebecca's death, the girl's former school has come out and said it reported signs of abuse or neglect to the Department of Child Safety a dozen.
I'm sorry, what was their plan? I'm going to go back because the sound is kind of weird. What was their plan? If they did murder this beautiful little child, which police say they did, and I think that the evidence supports that allegation, what was their plan? Just like dump her somewhere and then have somebody stumble upon her, say you were out looking for her? Like, what's the plan there? Like, oh my goodness, she's not responsive. She's not breathing. Let's lay her down where a neighbor can find her. Something like that, right? That is just stupidity.
Ran away this morning. We went out and tried to find her, and our neighbor found her.
Since Rebecca's death, the girl's former school has come out and said it reported signs of abuse or neglect to the Department of Child Safety a dozen times. Phoenix police also saying they responded to the family 4 times in the past 2 years, reporting each time to DCS.
DCS kept having new cases open because Rebecca would go to school and had all these different allegations. And what was becoming alarming to not only her therapist but to the DCS workers was that she started having markings. Like she had bruises on her hands and her arms, and they took pictures and thought Rebecca had told her that we had done it, and it was her way to try to get taken out.
Rebecca's.
Look how. Well, first of all, why do you think she wanted to be taken out of the home? Hello? But look how just their ability to weave a tapestry of a story that they think somebody will believe. Again, I'm just sharing my opinion, but bullcrap. My meter is like, brrr. I need a meter. I need a meter that I can turn up, put on the screen. It's just ridiculous. Let me just go back one more, just a little bit. Let's listen to that one more time.
What?
Hold on.
Yes, kept having new cases open because Rebecca would go to school and had all these different allegations. And what was becoming alarming to not only her therapist but to the DCS workers was that
she's not crying.
Started having markings. Like she had bruises on her hands and her arms, and they took pictures and thought Rebecca had told her that we had done it, and it was her way to try to get taken out.
You have got a non-responsive 10-year-old girl in your care who is the daughter of your boyfriend, and you're just able to speak like that?
Rebecca's death is prompting calls for state accountability. Rebecca is the 3rd child who has died this year under the care or knowledge of DCS.
How many children is it going to take to die, to be misplaced, to be lost in the system, to be trafficked before we do something of substance?
State lawmakers like Representative Walt Blackman are calling for hearings and further investigations into the state's child welfare system.
But we're talking about
Did you see one of those girls was Emily Pike? We talked about her here on the show.
lives right now. We're talking about children. We're talking about inconsistency and systemic problems.
DCS has told ABC 15 investigators that Rebecca's former school only reached out 5 times and that only one of those met reporting criteria. Lillian Donahue, ABC 15, Arizona.
Yeah, and the school says bullcrap. We reached out 12 times. That's what the school says. Okay. Let me just check in on you guys. See what you might be saying over here. Yeah, the biological mom was one of the women that we saw from kind of like the shoulders down that I think I saw track marks on. That was her mother and her grandmother saying, if you didn't want them, why didn't you give them back? That kind of thing. Who knows? I am not related that I know of to Albert Fish. I might be. Seems like we're all related when when we go back long enough. Yes, and it was the dad and the girlfriend. The dad is Richard Baptiste. The girlfriend is Anicia Woods, not mom. Yeah, CPS could have just asked the child to take off her shoes and socks, and poof, there's the proof. Yep. Kel says, a recent keynote at a child safety conference here in Australia said it's because they're not able to see the child as a thing to be loved, rather a belonging or less than human. I mean, there has to be a reason, right? Because it just, you're right, Kel. I mean, why do I have her picture? Get her picture out of here. Yeah, it must be some kind of disorder, some inability to, I guess, sympathize or empathize with a child and see them as a thing to be loved rather than maybe a bargaining chip between you and your ex-wife. I don't know. It's just crazy. Tanya says, my friend has 3 kids. Her husband was DVing her and the kids. He went and filed for custody and blamed her on the CA. The courts gave him custody. The oldest is in jail. The 13-year-old got pregnant. Wow. Yeah, there's a broken system. Broken system for sure. And Robin is saying, basically the entire chat is, as my little sister said when she was narking on me when we were like 10. When I was 10 and she was she was like 6, she told my parents, Gavin said P-I-S-T. Yeah, we're all mad, and we should be, because, oh my goodness. Look, I just keep looking at this beautiful little child that is able to bring up a smile, having lived like that. I just, the strength in that little one. And maybe she was finding real moments, little pockets of joy at school and with her friends and stuff like that. Notice that most of these pictures are at school. Oh, goodness sake. Yeah. And one man's trash is saying, yeah, it's about control. Yeah. P-I-S-T. That's what I said, and she wasn't going to say it. She wasn't going to get in trouble along with me. We still, I mean, what is that now? That's like 40 years ago, but we still say that one in my family. Okay, come with me, if you will, over here. There are 3 documents that were published by the Arizona Department of Child Safety, which is the Arizona's equivalent of, they call it DCS. You can also Children and Youth Services, Child Protective Services, CYS, CPS. There are lots of different acronyms. They might be different where you live, but this is a, let's see. There are 3 documents. This one's 4 pages long, this one's 4 pages long, and this one's 3 pages long. I think they all kind of say the same thing, but let's delve into this real quick. Okay, so this is a statement on the death of 10-year-old Rebecca Baptiste, August 20th, 2025. So this was, what, 2 weeks ago. Whenever a child is harmed, oh my goodness. Am I going to make it through this, guys? This already has me infuriated. But okay, whenever a child is harmed, it resonates far beyond the immediate family. It touches neighbors, friends, and anyone who is involved in the child's life. This apparently wasn't written by the Department of Child Safety, but on the Department of stating the obvious. It is particularly painful when a child was known to the department. our dedicated staff work tirelessly to ensure the safety and well-being of every child in our state, yet we must also face the heartbreaking truth that those intent on causing harm can sometimes evade even the strongest safeguards that have been put in place. The issue is I don't think that there really were any safeguards put in place in this case. At least that's what I think so far. On July 27, 2025, the Department of Child Safety received a report regarding 10-year-old Rebecca Baptiste, who was brought to the hospital by paramedics after being found unresponsive near a wash. Upon examination, multiple injuries were discovered, indicating non-accidental trauma. Rebecca ultimately died due to her injuries. Following an assessment of child safety, other children in the home were taken into custody and placed in a licensed foster home. By the way, I don't know if it makes anybody feel good in Arizona if she was put into a licensed foster home. What foster home? The foster home that was licensed by the Department of Child Safety to, I can't remember the name of the tribe, but Emily Pike was in a licensed foster home. On July 29th, 2025, Richard Baptiste, father, and Anicia Woods, father's significant other, were charged in the Apache County Superior Court with attempted first-degree murder, aggravated assault, CA, and kidnapping in relation to Rebecca Baptiste's death. In the wake of this tragedy, the department is working closely with law enforcement to ensure those who committed this heinous act are held fully responsible. Again, you can't take credit here, DCS. You are not working closely with law enforcement. You are required to respond to subpoenas and warrants and the like. I cannot believe that you are working closely with law enforcement. I bet DCS lawyers are working right now to try to make sure that there's no civil liability on their end. And I'm sure they enjoy some kind of immunity too. Okay. We're committed to supporting the investigation in every possible way, providing information, resources, and expertise to aid in the pursuit of justice for Rebecca. In addition, the department contracts with a third party, Collaborative Safety, who are national experts in identifying systemic improvements following child fatalities in the child welfare system. And there it is. There it is. Hey, wanted to let you know, by the way, that while there's no oversight or accountability by the public, we have engaged with a third party who's going to check into our systems to make sure that, we make some meaningful changes. You won't be able to see those until we announce them because you're the public and you have no oversight here. But we're going to do it anyway. Along with Collaborative Safety and with support from the National Partnership for Child Safety, our safety analysis review team conducts an independent review following the process outlined in Arizona Revised Statute 8-469 to analyze cases that involve a death or a near death due to abuse or neglect. Yeah. The team is conducting a review of Rebecca's case that includes at least 32 times where CA was reported to you to determine what factors may have affected the outcome of this case. I'm sure there are many. While no action can undo this devastating loss, we will continue to strengthen our efforts, learn from this tragedy, and honor Rebecca's memory by keeping our commitment to protecting the children of Arizona, a commitment you failed to uphold in Rebecca's case. We acknowledge that over the years, members of the community have contacted the DCS hotline in regards to the Baptiste family and have expressed frustration that some of their calls did not meet the legal criteria for an investigation or for removal of the children from the home. While we understand their frustrations, the department is a statutory agency that is bound by Arizona law and codes. That means DCS cannot investigate any calls to our hotline that do not meet the strict legal criteria, and calls such as those reporting truancy or crimes committed against children by anyone other than a parent, guardian, or custodian. Similar strict legal standards apply to when DCS can remove a child from their parents. Okay, listen, I am I worry about giving too much power to government. I'm very, I guess, what is the word that I'm looking for? I try to keep politics out of this, but I am very libertarian about this sort of stuff. I think government needs to be limited. Like, I think government needs to be limited. But if you're getting 32 calls on a family, I think that breaks through that limitation, right? And they bring up a couple of things. They're saying DCS cannot investigate any calls to our hotline that do not meet the strict legal criteria, and calls such as those reporting truancy or crimes committed against children by anyone other than a parent, guardian, or custodian. That, to me, that means that code needs to change. There should be like a red light, right? Or a red line. Once you pass that red line, we got to go into action. And truancy and crimes committed against children should be able to be reported by people other than, let's see, and calls such as those reporting truancy or crimes committed against children by anyone other than the parent, guardian, or custodian. Oh, I see what they're saying. So the crimes that are being committed by someone other than a custodian, guardian, or parent, they cannot investigate. So what they're saying is some of those calls came from, those calls that came in must have said, oh, there is abuse happening by somebody other than the parent, guardian, or custodian. Well, does Anicia Woods qualify as a custodian? I don't know. But wow. Okay. Like law enforcement agencies, DCS must have strong evidence before taking a child from their home. Yes, of course. For example, law enforcement agencies investigated the Baptiste family at least 5 times, according to the Phoenix Police Department, yet no arrests for CA or neglect were ever made. The reason for this is because there was not sufficient evidence to support the allegations. Likewise, DCS investigated the Baptiste family multiple times. However, there was not sufficient evidence to support removing the children in most of those cases. Oh. So in some of them, there was sufficient evidence to support removing the children. So that could be written, likewise, DCS investigated the Baptiste family multiple times. There was sufficient evidence to support removing the children in some of the cases. That's how that sentence could be rewritten. There was not sufficient evidence to remove them in most of the cases, but in some of them, there must have been, and yet they did not. When responding to an allegation of abuse or neglect, the department first determines if a child is in present danger. Present danger is something that is observable, out of control, and happening in the present moment that makes the child unsafe without immediate intervention. The immediate intervention could be one of several options to control the safety threat, with removal being the last and most extreme option. If the child is not in present danger, the department, through its investigation, determines if the child is in impending danger. This means they are likely to be unsafe again in the near future without intervention. Again, removal is the last option to control for the safety threat. State law provides that the department can only take custody of a child for up to 72 hours when probable cause exists to believe that temporary custody is clearly necessary to protect the child from suffering CA or neglect, and it is contrary to the child's welfare to remain in the home, and requires court approval either before taking custody or shortly after when exigent circumstances exist. Again, It appears that there were circumstances that existed. A finding may be substantiated without a removal. This means that the department has evidence to believe by preponderance of the evidence that something occurred that meets the definition of CA or neglect, but that the taking of temporary custody was not required in order to keep the child safe. A finding can be substantiated through criminal proceedings, juvenile or family court, or through the department's own internal process. The following are the prior reports involving Mr. Baptiste and Ms. Woods. Except they're not. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Where are we? August 29, 2015, the department received a report alleging neglect of Rebecca Baptiste by her mother and father, Mr. Baptiste. The report alleged concerns about the condition of the home, as well as possible drug use from parents. The investigator assessed Rebecca in her home and determined she was not in present or imminent danger. The DCS investigation did not find evidence to support the allegation. The allegation was unsubstantiated. The case was still open when a second report came in on May 5, 2016. On that date, the department received a report alleging neglect to Rebecca Baptiste by her mother and father, Mr. Baptiste. The report alleged Rebecca had severe diaper rash and an ear infection that was not being addressed. The investigator assessed the child in her home and determined she was not in present or imminent danger. The DCS investigation did not find evidence to support the allegation. The allegation was unsubstantiated. The family was referred to Building Resilient Families, and the case was closed on the 12th. October 31st of 2017, the department received a report alleging neglect to a child by their mother and father, Mr. Baptiste. The report alleged that a 10-month-old child was being left alone for several hours. The investigator assessed the child in the home and determined the child was not in present or imminent danger. Did not find evidence, was unsubstantiated. They were provided a list of community sources and daycare. They declined. Case was closed. March 14th, 2019, the department received a report alleging neglect to Rebecca Baptiste and her siblings by their mother and father, Mr. Baptiste. The report alleged the mother had exposed the child to substances during her pregnancy. The investigator assessed the children in their home. The DCS investigation resulted in Rebecca Baptiste and her siblings being removed and placed in out-of-home care. Oh, hallelujah. A dependency petition was filed with the Maricopa County Superior Court, and the allegations were substantiated. During this time, the department provided services to the family. Subsequently, the father, Richard Baptiste, was granted physical custody of the children by the court in 2022. Oh my God. The dependency involving Rebecca and a sibling was dismissed by the court on May 12, 2023, as a result of reunification with their father, Mr. Baptiste. The dependency involving another sibling was dismissed by the court on July 9, 2024, as a result of reunification with their father, Mr. Baptiste. You know what I think the problem is here? I'm not going to solve the world's problems here. In fact, 7 million people have thought of this before. But, Kimberly and I have friends who fostered and ultimately adopted. I'm not going to give too much away here, but ultimately adopted children who were biological siblings. They shared with each of us on separate occasions just how infuriating dealing with the, I think they call them CYS out here in Pennsylvania, Children and Youth Services, because their number one priority was reunification with the parent or parents or with next of kin. And in that case, the mom didn't want the children. She was addicted to drugs and she was an addict, and that's just, she was in the throes of that. All of the next of kin were also in the same boat, right? And yet during their foster time, they had to relinquish these babies over into the custody of these people that they knew were doing criminal activity and were in the throes of addiction. The priority, I think, maybe shouldn't be reunification. The priority should be happiness and welfare of the child. But again, I mean, that's a scary amount of power to give to a government. It's tough. All right. On July 26, 2021, while their children were still in DCS care, the department received a report alleging neglect to a newborn child by their father and mother, Mr. Baptiste. The report alleged the mother had exposed a child to substance. Okay, I think we did that. Yeah, we did that one. Or maybe it's the same. Hold on. No, it's different. Dang it. The report alleged the mother had exposed the child to substances during pregnancy. The DCS investigation resulted in the child being removed from the home, placed in a foster home. The dependency petition was filed. Allegations were substantiated. They began providing services. But the father relinquished his rights to the child. The mother's parental rights were terminated. The dependency was dismissed. Okay, so that child was taken away. On November 2nd, 2023, the department received a report alleging physical abuse to a child by Mr. Baptiste's significant other, Ms. Woods. The report alleged the child had a scratch on their neck that was caused by Ms. Woods. The investigator assessed the child in the home, determined the child was not in present or imminent danger. Dang it! The DCS investigation did not find evidence to support the allegation. It was unsubstantiated. Community supports were provided to the family. All other services were declined by the family. Case was closed. Here's another one. January 30th, the department received a report alleging neglect of Rebecca and a child by their father. The department made attempts to see the home of maltreatment before the next report was received. Mesa Police Department conducted a forensic interview with the children. The DCS investigation did not result in evidence to support the allegation. The department received, on February 13th, the department received a report alleging physical abuse by Mr. Baptiste's significant other, Ms. Woods. The report alleged the child had a scratch on their neck that was caused by Ms. Woods. Okay, it was unsubstantiated. September 13th, again by Ms. Woods, scratch on their neck. Unsubstantiated. October 17, by Ms. Woods, marks on their hands and feet, and that the children were disciplined through exercise. The investigator assessed, not in present imminent danger, did not find evidence, was unsubstantiated, case closed. January 16th of this year, the department received a report of neglect by the father and Ms. Woods. The report alleged Mr. Baptiste would have Rebecca run as a form of punishment while not allowing her bathroom or water breaks. The investigator assessed Rebecca in her home, determined she was not in present or imminent danger. The DCS investigation did not find evidence. Unsubstantiated, case closed. May 19th, the report was received alleging physical abuse to Rebecca and her siblings by Ms. Woods. Specifically, the children were being spanked as a form of punishment. The department made efforts to engage the family by visiting their home in Phoenix and the children's school. However, during the course of the investigation, the family moved to Concho, Arizona, and the department did not have updated contact information. The investigation was still ongoing when the near fatality report was received on July 27th. Well, you were a state agency. You're telling me you could not find them? Give me a break. Guys, let's see what you're saying. Isn't this just... This is just so much. There's just so much. Let me get back up here. Let's see. Ryan Apple Snapple. I live in Arizona and plan to go to the board meetings. Good for you, Ryan Apple Snapple. Thank you. Meredith says, Gavin, only 5 times. Yeah, only 5 times. Great catch. Gavin, the little girl probably looks like mom, and that sets them both off. Hatred is an awful thing. Maybe. Yeah, it could be. Jojo says, Gavin, were the bio parents or the stepmom ever arrested on any California crimes or suspicion? Oh, of CA crimes or suspicion of CA? Doesn't appear so. Nope. She sounds like she's being inconvenienced having to call 911. Yeah, she is. These people obviously had multiple interactions with DCS. So when she's talking to the police on body cam about DCS, yeah, she has lots of experience. Susan says, reunification is always the goal, no matter how horrible the abuse may be. I agree that the welfare of the children should be first and foremost. Yeah, well, it's you and me, Susan, versus the world. Kel says, they also need to make sure, let's see, to remove the child from parents and the home during interviews and do more than one interview. She may have been too scared to say anything. That was my mom's favorite thread. Ooh, sorry to hear that. Let's bring up Rebecca here. I would imagine that the children get in a home like this one is alleged to have been. I bet the children bear the brunt of any time CPS shows up, or DCS in this case. I bet they're like, who did you tell? What did you say? And they bear the brunt. I bet they're punished for, DCS showing up. Oh, do we have a little extra time? We have a couple minutes. Let me look at, yeah, maybe. Let's bring this up here real quick. This is from the same day. This is a summary report on Rebecca Baptiste's murder. Was the child residing in the child's home or in out-of-home placement at the time of the fatality? The child was residing in her home when the following incident occurred. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, we read that. If the victim in the preliminary report involved a child residing in the child's home, the following information will be provided. No services were provided at the time of the July 27th near fatality report. At that time, the family was being investigated for an open report from May 19th, 2025. An investigation was initiated and efforts were made to locate the family without success. The department was continuing efforts to locate the family when the report of the near fatality incident was received. Yeah, I think it talks about the previous reports. Okay. Yeah, charges were later amended to first-degree murder. The children in the home were removed from the home, placed in a licensed foster home. The department filed a dependency petition to the Maricopa County Superior Court as to Rebecca's siblings. Services are being provided to the other children. No subsequent reports. Okay, yeah, because they're in prison. Actions taken. The department conducted a joint investigation with the Apache County Sheriff's Office. The child's father, Richard Baptiste, and his significant other, Anicia Woods, were arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Following an assessment of child safety, the other children in the home were removed and placed in a licensed foster home. The department filed a dependency petition with the Maricopa County Superior Court, and services are being provided. Additionally, in accordance with Arizona Revised Statutes, subsection 8-469, the cases with prior involvement with the department within 3 years of the critical incident are reviewed by a multidisciplinary team. The team selects cases that present opportunities for systemic learning or that demonstrate opportunities for systemic change. The department uses the aggregate data gathered through the MDT reviews to assess the guide future changes and or recommendations to policies, practices, rules, or statutes to improve the quality of the outcomes for children and families receiving services from the department. Blah, 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 blah. There's one other one. I think most of this stuff we already know. Got the following reports, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Okay. Well, if you are as infuriated as I am, just know that you're not alone. Many of us feel this way. We will continue to cover this case as it moves along in the courts. Arizona does seem to be a pretty open state, though unlike Florida and like Utah and Idaho, they don't have a way for us to just easily download documents. We have to go through the process of requesting them, and we will do that in many cases. Let's see, a couple more comments before we go, see if anybody is... let's go here. When they said the family moved, she was not going to school anymore either. Yeah. I was being talked to by our school psychologist in 5th grade. My mom told me all they wanted was to know about gossip and they didn't want to help me. Now I'm an adult and her words are appalling. Yeah. Autumn says, bio mom, suspicion of prostitution, drug charges. Yeah. Phoenix Rising, we're happy to have you on the Rewatch crew. And Robin, yes, we are PIST, as my little sister said. We in our house at that point, we didn't have a dining room table. We had like a long counter, and we all fit. We all would eat dinner along this long counter, and we did it in order. So it was like dad, mom, oldest sister, brother, me, youngest sister, right? And she used to narc on me. She was over here to my right, and she would narc on me, and like underneath, I'd like punch her in the thigh. One time, I grabbed my fork and I was like, "Ugh," and it stuck. And like a champ, she bit her tongue and didn't say anything about it. Like the one and only time she decided not to narc. And that, by the way, that little sister who she and I just quarreled all the time. She is the one that you will see in the fish tank often. She is about the best ever. If you don't know about the fish tank, if you go to my website, gavinfish.com, let me bring it up here real quick. If you go to gavinfish.com and you click on this little icon right here, that will take you over to the fish tank, where we like to hang out and talk about all things true crime. So you always have an open invitation to meet us there. By the way, one other thing while we're on the website, there's a support me page, and I want to point out two things. First, I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. If you're up for it, if you can, no guilt, no pressure. It's an invitation to buy Autumn a coffee. She leads our moderation crew and she does a terrific job. And if you would like to support her, that's a way to do that. I also wanted to let you know that I did establish a post office box here in Western PA that you can send packages to. The main reason I did that is because people are afraid to send documents digitally. They're afraid of, or evidence or anything digitally. They're afraid of not being anonymous enough. So after being requested to do this for about 3 years, I finally did establish a post office box in Franklin, PA. So if you have anything that you want me to take a look at and you want to remain anonymous, mail it. Don't put a return address on it. Don't put anything that would identify you in it, and I will get it there. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention. With that, you guys, we're calling it a day. We're calling it a day. We're all angry now. This is just, I mean, I'm so angry about this, but hopefully we can make a difference by keeping pressure on DCS. keeping pressure on the people who are prosecuting these two losers. I'm sorry. That was below me. That was beneath me. I shouldn't have done that. But Richard Baptiste and Anicia Woods, to get, seek the highest penalty and do not bargain it down. Take it all the way across the finish line. Do not bargain it down. That's the pressure that they need to have. And in Arizona, DCS needs to make changes, man. Let's keep that pressure on them. With that, guys, I am, what are you guys saying here? Like the Von Trapps. Oh, yeah. Was that one of the stories in Sound of Music? I can't remember. That's funny. Robin likes the stories. One man's trash. Never look at you the same way. I'm a forker. Forks are not for stabbing sisters. That is true. She was a champ. She was a champ. What's funny is that let me tell you one more story before we go. My little sister and my brother-in-law have about the best kids ever. They're terrific. They're such good kids. But there were occasions when Uncle Gavin had to step in with one or two of the kids. And I remember one time, one of her children had said something that I took issue to, and I decided I was going to take it upon myself to be the disciplinarian here. My little sister was okay with it, and so was my brother-in-law, so I did it. He told me that day, he was so angry at me, then when he got big enough, he was going to beat me up. He couldn't do it now, but when he got big enough, he was going to take me out. And I told him, you know what? When you grow up, I hope that you will understand and remember this day and know how you're behaving. And with your adult mind, you will apologize for it. Anyway, he grew. What is that story? He grew and he grew and he grew. I can't remember what story that was that we read to the kids. The child grew. He grew and he grew and he grew. And he grew. My nephew now towers over me and is a specimen of strength and masculinity. I don't know how tall he is. 6'8"? I'm not a little guy. I stand at 6'2". He towers over me and is so physically large and fit. They came to visit us. This was a couple years ago. And I was like, hey, buddy, do you remember that time when you told me that when you got big enough, you'd beat me up? You're big enough now. I'll take my licks. And he just gave me a big hug and told me that he loved me. Because he's a good kid. Anyway, yeah. Got lots of stories, family stories. That's a good family. Guys, thanks for spending some time with me. Grateful that you will do that. We will catch up again tomorrow, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Until then, I bid you adieu. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.